make a little bit more sense for you. To do that, I have to draw something. See if you can work out what it is that I'm going to draw.
Australia, mate.
Australia. Happy with that? And
What was it there?
Tasmania. That is Australia. Now, 300, I've been talking about this 300 million years ago, something happened around here. We've actually got to go back further than that to explain this. You've got to go back to about 1 billion years ago. About 1 billion years ago, this whole area was a big shallow sea. Layer upon layer of sand got deposited on top of itself. The whole area was slowly sinking, very slowly sinking. Layer upon layer of sand got put on top of itself. And over time, when under pressure and heat, that sand glues together. It's what's called siliceous cement. Out of sand comes silica, and it actually glues the sand particles together to make rock. Anyway, that happened about 1 billion years ago. It was a big shallow sea. And about 700 million years ago, some pressure built up here. Continents were moving around. Continents were moving around, pushing against each other. And Australia was squished from this side, squished together. And in this area here, a big mountain range.
Tectonic plates, was it? What was means was tectonic plates or just land?
This was a big tectonic plate.
Oh,
one plate over here and one plate over here were pushing it together to squish this plate in the middle. And we are about here. Now this here was pushed up probably about 500 million years ago. And it's a big mountain range. It rose up 10,000 metres, about 10 kilometres from what they can work out. The remnants of it are still just over there. It's called the Petermann Ranges. It was 10 kilometres high, so huge. That was about 500 million years ago. Over a period of about, say, 100 million years, I know it's easy to say, but it's what they can work out, it eroded. It eroded. And this huge 10 kilometre high mountain range eroded down to almost nothing. It all eroded this way. Most of the weather was coming from here. All the wind was coming that way. And it all eroded into central Australia like that. Now, you can imagine if it got a big mountain range like that, if I got a handful of rocks, like a handful of this stuff, and it erodes down from the hill, the big particles are going to stay closest. You stand in the river and let that go, the sand particles are going to drift further. So here, when this mountain range eroded, all the big particles stayed closer to it and the sand was drifted out further. So this area, this was all fine sand, same size, but here it was really chunky, big bits and little bits. And this is where Kata Tjuta is, in the chunky part. Over here, where it's all sand, is where Uluru was. So anyway, you ended up with rock. Over a period, it glued itself together again, and you ended up with Kata Tjuta here. When you go and have a look at it, it's really chunky. It's bits, big bits, joined together, glued together. Some big, some small. It looks like a fruit cake. And that's why, when it's later eroded over a long period of time, it's eroded unevenly. It's formed these domes because, to start with, it was very chunky. And Uluru is different. But when you have a look at Uluru tomorrow, you'll see it's all the same. It's fine sand, all glued together. It's all exactly the same size. And when that erodes, it just erodes in a very even way.
So there was not rocks squashed up like the other ones?
There was. I'll just get to that in a moment. So all this sediment moved this way. Uluru ended up being a big sandy area, and here was very chunky. It formed rock, and then 300 million years ago, there was more pressure this way. Pressure from here and here, and it squished ridges in the centre of Australia like that. One of them was lifted up Uluru, Kata Tjuta, Mount Connor, also Kings Canyon. It was lifted up. So this here was just pushed up all of a sudden, same as Uluru. And Uluru is just a big flat area of rock, but it was cracked and lifted up on its side. So now the end of it is sticking up out of the ground. That's why it just sticks up out of the middle of nowhere. very slow process over a long time. It was squished this way, and the centre of Australia was cracked and buckled. And Uluru was a big area of sandy rock, all equal. It was cracked, and a big chunk of it was lifted up, and now it's sticking up out of the desert. Same with Kata Tjuta, but the difference between them, the reason why this eroded differently from Uluru is because this is chunky. Have a look when you get up here. It's made of rocks of lots of different sizes, like a fruit cake. When you go to Uluru tomorrow, you'll see it's different. The material that's made of is all the same. It's all even. That's why, because Uluru is further away from this mountain range that rose up a long time ago. So I hope that makes sense a little bit. The main thing is, keep an eye on what it's made of. Have a look at what it's made of.
Sir?
Made of some stuff.